Super Week been going?
A Super Week has been going, at least score-wise, really good, right? We're 2-0. Two more games left to play tomorrow. But in terms of actual games, I thought our first game against EG was really lackluster. I thought our game against TSM, well, I specifically wanted them to focus on objectives a lot more, and we just played a very systematic game, very clinical game, you could say.
Right. What about your games for tomorrow? You're going up against Complexity and Cloud9. How well do you think you're going to be doing?
We should end this week 4-0, but it's weird because I'm actually kind of worried about. I'm worried about both teams for weird reasons. Like C9, obviously, like a great team, and then I'm also worried about Complexity because the last time we played them, we got mauled. It wasn't because we disrespected them. It's just that like our general game plan and draft phase are really bad, and so I think going on to tomorrow, it might be the hardest day of the week for us because TSM we've typically had their number throughout the season. And that's definitely a team that I figure that we understand at least how they look to win, and what we do is typically like our general strategy is typically better than theirs is if we can control the early game.
Right. I know that you said that you're expecting to get 4-0 by the end of this weekend. Can you tell me, was that your expectations earlier on yesterday?
I mean, the thing is, I don't want to lie. I would be happy. Or like I'd be okay with a 3-1. I think generally our Super Week is not that hard, mainly because we're playing the last two teams in the split, and then like C9, which actually should be probably pretty high up, and TSM, a team that we have not struggled with throughout the split, even though they're another top team. And so compared to other teams that have like four really hard teams, top four teams in their Super Week, like our Super Week should be much easier, and that's why I expected a 4-0. I would have been okay with a 3-1, but I would have been pretty annoyed. So we're definitely looking for a 4-0, and I personally am looking for a 4-0 as well.
Yeah, how have you been preparing for Super Week?
It's just that we just don't take break days on serious weeks. So Monday was typically our break day. We decided to not do anything. Like we just started to play. I don't want to overload them. So even though it is a Super Week, we try to keep the schedule very consistent throughout all the weeks that we play. It's just, I think everyone in general is more loose in Super Week. Everything is more loose in Super Week. Like there's no way you can run 4 individual strategies against 4 different teams. So by the end of the week, like your overall draft phase and your overall ideas are pretty much like already shown. Like your pick priorities are already shown. I think that's possible to certainly keep like individual strats for individual teams, but it's just extremely hard. I don't know a single team that actually does that because there's certain strategies that are just better. And so, especially with closing on the end, I feel like every team will read each other team very, very well. It'll come down to like either they just draft and then playing. I don't think there's really been a game this season that has a draft phase that was too detrimental. Like the team automatically lost when the draft phase finished. I think at worst there's been like a 60-40 kind of a power between the team that lost the draft, or at worst maybe like a 70-30, and that was like that is I think that's happened to. We had like a couple 60-40s to split, which were actually really annoying because I control most of the draft phase, and so I messed up on one or two drafts, and then on the other ones like we messed up, like they messed up on 1 or 2 drafts. But I don't think the draft phase plays out as much as it matters. Like the better team will always win. The team that plays better will always win. And then I like that. Like that's a good thing, I think.
Yeah, you seem a bit surprised with what the standings have been this split. I know a lot of others have as well. Was that your expectations coming into this split?
I expected us to be top 3, like for sure. Especially going to the thing is, I didn't know where like our team would be at any given moment. Like I had like a long-term projection with my analyst, Cumley, and we were expecting us to be like had this and so stuff down by this time during the split. And if we had like all these things down, we would be like the best team in NA. And that wasn't realistic. That was just like a projection. I think we're ahead of where we expected, but there was just some games that we've lost like that I feel like we shouldn't have lost. Like the Complexity game, even if we were to lose the Complexity, it shouldn't have been so one-sided. Which is a combination of just like poor in-game strategy and really bad decision making and draft.
How are your expectations for tomorrow's game against Complexity going to be, since the last game didn't go so well?
I think we just want to keep it very controlled. Like we want a very systematic game like we had against TSM. Those are the types of games I feel like we excel at right now. And as long as we're able to control objectives, control map vision, like that's just how you win the game right now. Like the better team will almost always win based on their overall map control and their overall like movement and objective control. And I feel like that's like the thing we're hammering in, because sometimes teams get really bloodthirsty. Like I feel like a very fatal mistake at TSM was Zion was able to distract like 3 members up top that last game because he was just being annoying. Like he was being really, really annoying. And then Bjorkson came top, tried to flash Q him, chased him all the way down the lane with Dyrus, and that allowed us to get like so many, like a free dragon, a free mid turret, and that kind of spelled the doom of TSM because they just got too bloodthirsty. And right now kills are very rubber bandy and not really worth it. So we focus definitely way more on objectives than we do on kills.
Speaking of TSM, I know that TSM and Cloud9 are considered one of the top competitive teams. Who would you say are your biggest competitors right now?
I definitely think C9 and CLG are the teams that give us the most trouble. I actually don't know about C9. I think our C9 games are pretty close. I think CLG gives us the most trouble. It's not because I feel like they have like much better players or any of that. I just feel like we sometimes just fall flat when we're playing against. Like we communicate, we talk so much, like we coordinate much better against other teams, and then when we play against CLG, it's like, what happened? Like, where did it all go? And so maybe it's a mental block, maybe whatever, but that's just something we're going to be working on. In terms of C9, I think even when I was playing against C9 last split, and like I think all of our games were very, very close. This split, I think we're 1-1 against them right now, and so as weird as it sounds, like I may be more worried about the Complexity game than the C9 game. And not to say that Complexity is a better team, I just feel like our team plays better against a C9 than they might potentially play against Complexity.
Why do you think that is?
I know a lot of people and a lot of people just consider like when you lose to bottom tier teams that you underestimate them. And I feel like that's not necessarily true. Although in some aspect it is, because maybe like subconsciously you're underestimating them. But a lot of it just comes down to like, I don't know. It comes down to just, I feel anyone can win a game, and if they make one good play and you make 2 mistakes, you can just naturally lose based on how you play out the game. Especially if you play a little bit risky, especially if you go for kills, for instance. And so if you're not as objective focused as you can be, you can definitely fall prey to losing against teams in lower standing. And it doubly so in this split because the teams in the lower standing are very, very good right now. Like even the last place teams are putting up competitive games against the top tier teams. And it's not something you can have said like in the splits before.
You guys have been doing a great job, and I look forward to your games tomorrow, and good luck on them. For everyone else, make sure to subscribe for more content.
We have 5 teams or 6 teams being relatively close to each other with like 1 game difference, and if you manage to go forward.
So I kind of exploded onto the scene, and I was like, I'm gonna take full advantage of this. Like I'm not gonna let my skill go to waste and just like, kind of be forgotten.